Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you could tell, the Japan Championship took place a couple of days ago. Actually, yesterday as of when I'm recording this, so probably a few days prior from when you are seeing this. And this was a big tournament because it was basically an invitational. A lot of the winners from some other events have shown up for the Japan Championship 2022, and some interesting things happened. So notably, this is with the new support, Darkwing Blast or something like that. Yeah, these are the best of the best players. And if we look at the top decks, now, to be fair, there weren't a lot of players. There were simply some. I think it was 16. Not entirely sure on the exact amounts. But notably, Ishizu Tier Element, of course, winning standard deck list, standard format, standard yawn. Moving on. However, there's a new player in town in the OCG, and that is Draco Slayer, aka Pendulum. Pendulum best deck. This is literally just Pendulum. Now, granted, in the OCG, they still have Electromite, they have Astrograph at 1, they have the... Oh, I want to call him the Paladin. I don't remember the exact name of this guy. But yeah, they still have a lot of the powerful Pendulum cards available to them, most notably the Electromite. And with Hulk banned, this does mean that Pendulum has a much better time going into Electromite. That Link 2, that powerful Link 2, that gets them so much advantage. And most importantly, because they can play so many 4s, we'll get into the new cards in a second, because they can play so many 4s, they can play 2 cards in particular that absolutely dumpster the meta in Baguska and Abyss Dweller. Both of these cards, Abyss Dweller specifically deals with the Terra Elements, just turning off the entire Terra Element deck, and Baguska destroys Splites quite hard. You just switch everything to defense, negate all of their effects. All of a sudden, doesn't matter how many of those cards you special summon, they're not going to do anything. So, there you go. Yeah, all in all, pretty awesome. They're also using the new Link 4 that basically can just be used. You basically go into your Apollosa, use all of its negates, you slap this guy down, and now he's like a 2500 attack point monster or something like that. Not the greatest of cards. I actually made a video about it and then scrapped it because it was not very good. But I talked about this card, and yeah, I know what the card does. It's okay. It's really interesting, though. I would highly suggest going and reading what this card is. Or watching Dzeef's video on it. But yeah, as you can see, lots of Pendulum cards, lots of really weird one-ofs in this list as well as in this list. They're basically playing the exact same list. But yeah, they're playing the Dynamis Charge because you can search out one of your cards with it, but also it allows you to add back the card from the extra deck to the hand, and I believe it's searchable as well. We have the Sky Iris, again, searchable, able to search out cards, and the Pendulum Magician card. I don't remember exactly the name of this one, but yeah, so some really interesting cards, and just, yeah, Pend best deck. I'm going to go over some of the new support that came out to boost this deck, notably these 3 cards right here. This one, and this one. Before we get on to the rest of the video, did you know that 70% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed? If you end up liking the content, consider subscribing. You can always unsubscribe later if you end up not liking it. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the video. So the first thing I actually want to talk about is Fenrir. This card is kind of crazy, so we're just going to read it here together. It is a level 7 Earth Psychic Effect monster with 24/24, and you can only use the second and third effect once per turn. If you control no monsters, special summon this card from your hand. Do I need to say anything else? Do you know how valuable an inherent special summon is? Yeah, it's very crazy. Tri-Brigade Lyralisk had a card that special summons itself for free, and it does other stuff. Tier 1. We have Pankratops, Tier 1, or, you know, limited to 1. We have Cyber Dragon. That changed the way that the game functioned at the very start of the game. So just having that inherent summon is already enough. But during your main phase, you can add another one of its archetype to your hand from your deck, including itself. does not limit itself. You search out another one. So this is a card that is just a staple in most decks at the moment in the OCG, because who's going to just shotgun their Max C, you know? You might, depending on if you know your opponent's playing it or not. And honestly, because of this card, you might start shotgunning that Max C. But honestly, just, yeah, it's just, oh, let me just slap this down. Inherent Summon, no one's going to be thinking about Max C. But also, when this card declares an attack, or if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, banish it face down. Not face up, face down. It's Berserker of the Tenyi on a free special summon. This card is absolutely insane, and it's, I believe, played in just about every deck at this point. It's not played in this one because... No, it is. Yeah, it is. It's played in Terror Element as well. It's not played in this list, the topping list, but it is played, or with the winning list, but it is played in the third place list. So yeah, it's literally so powerful. It is played in just about every deck. Absolutely insane card. The actual new Pankratops. But that's not what you're here for. You're here for the Pendulums. So let's quickly talk about the Pendulums. So first of all, we have the Ignister Phoenix of the Draco Slayer. We have the Majesty Pegasus of the Draco Slayer. And we have Dynamite Power Load of the Draco Slayer. So these are 3 cards that are specifically helping other archetypes as well as the Draco Slayer archetype. If you don't know what the Draco Slayer archetype is, it's basically an archetype of pendulum monsters that support other archetypes as well. And with this, we have the Ignister Phoenix Draco Slayer, which is specifically to support the Ignites. We have Majesty, which supports Magispector, and we have the Dynamite, which supports the Dynomist. So that's why we're seeing cards like the like Dynomist to charge the Magispectors in here and the like. So yeah, going back to this one, the first card is Ignis Phoenix, a level 4 fire warrior monster, and with a pendulum scale of 7, because that's the Ignite high scale. So there's that. But during your main phase, you can shuffle one face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck into the deck to add a Draco Slayer or Ignite monster from your deck to your hand. This is very, very good, given the fact that the Ignites specifically want to pop cards, and they have a lot of cards within their pendulum zone, within their face-up extra deck to just be shuffled away. So it's basically an Ignite search, but instead it's a follow-up search. So normally you go Ignite, scale them up, pop them in order to search out another one. Now they're in the extra deck, and then you can scale up this guy and another Ignite, or just this guy, and then search out the last Ignite that you may need. All of a sudden you need less pendulums and less specific scales. So very, very nice, because he just kind of searches whatever you may need. And because he also adds a Draco Slayer, it's very nice. This pairs also really well with Electromite, which is not banned, as I mentioned. So yeah, just plays very well with a whole bunch of different decks. However, not only is his pendulum effect very good and his pendulum scale very good, he also is level 4, which is also very good, but he also has a powerful monster effect. This being, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Draco Slayer or Ignite monster from your deck, and it's treated as a tuner. Now, the tuner part, honestly, doesn't really matter all that much. You can kind of go into the actual Draco Slayer synchro, which is fine, but more importantly, it is used to just get another body onto your field, have that additional floating protection, or, you know, you could pop it with something like your Ignites or your, myriad of different pendulum support cards that want to pop cards in order to gain that advantage. So very, very solid on both of their effects. And I believe they are hard once per turns. Yeah, so it's a hard once per turn for each of its effects. So you could use the pendulum effect and then the monster effect in the same turn, which is pretty crazy. Moving on to the Majesty Pegasus, we have the pendulum effect, we have a level 4 wind spellcaster monster with 15/15 with the pendulum scale of 2. The pendulum effect is if you have a Draco Slayer or Magispector card in your other pendulum zone, you can add another Draco Slayer pendulum monster with a different original name from your deck to your hand, then destroy a card in your pendulum zone. Now, this will, this will proc other such pendulum floating effects. Not this guy, but other such pendulum floating effects, like for example, Dynamist Charge as well. But it also allows you to just search out again. So yeah, you scale up, you search again, popping the other guy, and then you can potentially special summon with other such pendulum effects, or you could just, pendulum summon from your hand a whole bunch, or, whatever it may be that you are able to go into. I don't know the exact combos because, again, this is pretty new. It came out in the most recent set for the OCG. So, yeah, still the combos are unfamiliar to me. Moving on, we have the monster effect, which is a quick effect. You can discard this card until the end of this turn. Your opponent cannot target Draco Slayer monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So this basically gives the Magispector protection to all of your Draco Slayer cards, which means all three of these new cards are adding that protection. We also have this guy, I believe, is also a Draco Slayer. We have these guys that are Draco Slayers. All of them are added that additional protection of not being able to be targeted and not being able to be destroyed, thanks to this singular card, which is very, very good. Just in general, that is a very solid protection, even against the current metagame. And yeah, there you go. That's all you need to know. That hand effect is crazy. There you go. Insulates you from things like Imperm, Effect Veiler, and the like, which also is kind of insane. Just in general. Yeah, you can insulate yourself from Imperm and the like. Granted, those aren't really being played in the current metagame, but it's still pretty interesting. And then moving on, we have the second effect, 2 monster effects. If this card is pendulum summoned or special summoned by a Draco Slayer card effect, you can add a field spell from your deck to your hand, then discard a card. This is also why they are only playing the one Sky Iris, the one searchable Sky Iris, which can search other cards. It can protect your Odd Eyes monsters or just monsters in general, and it adds that additional just recovery, searching, recovery, all of that. So yeah, really, really solid. This card is definitely a card you want to see in your hand. And then the last one we have is the Dynamite Power Load, the Draco Slayer. So this is a level 4 water machine, and with Dino Mists, they are water machines. So there you go. And they're all being level 4. Again, facilitates those rank 4s. 17, 18, and then a pendulum scale of 6. So like this one with the 2, the low scale for the Magispectors. This one is the high scale, again, for the Dynamists. So here we have the Pendulum effect. You can target one Draco Slayer or Dynamist card in your other Pendulum zone, special summon it. Just another free special summon. If you have all 3 of these cards in your hand, what you could potentially do is you could go scale 1, search, actually, off of this singular card, as long as you have another card within your face-up extra deck, you could go scale 1, search out this one, scale this one, pop this one, search out this one, scale up, special summon this guy, activate the effect, search as field spell. Okay? Just with those 3, as long as you have a face-up card, a face-up pendulum monster in your extra deck, you are able to do that. Now, granted, that's not often what's going to end up happening, but you could easily put one there given the Majesty Pegasus. So again, very solid overall. And with the free special summon, that gets you 1 more material for your Electromite, which also gets you basically everything that you need. So there you go. You could even go special summon just with this guy's effect, and then normal summon, and then you can go into your Electromite and proceed from there. And you could also play under Maxi. You special summon the 1, they chain the Maxi, you normal summon a monster, you make Baguska, you pass. But it also has a powerful monster effect where it is always treated as a Dynamist card, which is very nice. But you can also use the monster effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is tributed, you can add a face-up Draco Slayer or a Dynamist Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. So it basically just adds that additional recursion, very similar to something like Charge. Now, granted, the monster effect on this card is not the reason that you are playing it. While it is very good, you're not going to be tributing all that often in your actual Pendulum deck. Most of the Pendulum support is specifically around destroying, so the tributes aren't as good. And since it doesn't pair with like the Magispector stuff, you're not playing the Magispector stuff. So there's that. Moving on, we do have some other, like, we have a field spell that they could technically search. They're not going to do that. But with these 3 new cards, Pendulum does look fairly competent. The biggest problem that I currently have with Pendulum is that it's basically that. It's Pendulum. It's not an archetype within the Pendulum. It's not Performance Pal. It's not Draco Slayer. It's not anything like that. As you can see, this is like every good card Pendulum has ever made. Just all together. So yeah, I really wish that Pendulum would see more of not just Pendulum support, but more of actual archetypal support. But Pendulum is such a wonky, weird mechanic that it's really hard to not make something that is generic support just given its scales. So there's that. But overall, yeah, this is very cool to see that the metagame might be now a 3-deck format. Don't know if that's entirely the case. This is just the first results that we have seen with Draco Slayer and the new sets and stuff like that. So this is exciting to see. If we go back and look at the actual Road of the King metagame report, this was prior to this event actually happening. I don't know if it was prior to the release of Darkwing Blast in the OCG, but notably, we were still seeing just Tearlament and Sprite. Sprite was taking up a little bit more of the pie, but it was still just those 2. So seeing that another deck could potentially pop its way in is pretty nice. So that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.